Welcome to Smells Like Potential, the rewatch podcast you didn't know you needed. It's a big week. Roy trains Jamie as Richmond faces West Ham for a crucial match, while Ted agonizes over a blunt response from Sassy. We meet Jack from the VC firm backing KJPR, and Roy and Baird attempt a new motivation technique for the second half.
Can't wait to talk about it. But today we have a guest, Jesse Lubinsky, who's manager and principal evangelist of the education community at Adobe. He's here with us. Welcome, Jesse.
I'm so
Woo-hoo!
psyched to be here.
Now, Delane and I both know you through our work in K-12, but we also discovered that you're a Ted Lasso superfan. And you've been to Richmond?
Yeah, when we kind of made that connection, I was like gushing about when I went to London on my last day. I took an extra day there just to go out to Richmond. And I was telling Mike what a surreal experience it was to actually like see this place that I think in your head you think is a set, but when you see it in real life and it's just there, you're like, oh my God, maybe this has been real all along. If you are able to make it out there and it's just a quick tube ride out, it's like the last stop on the city line. Definitely do the guided tour because there were so many locations that aren't really there are filmed there. So it's just the whole world of Ted Lasso is in one little space. It's just really unbelievable to get to see in real life.
Well,
Did you
it's like,
get to have a pint?
I didn't. The bar was under construction. So we were like peeking in and they were doing a redesign of it, but it's just all the more reason to go back, right? We gotta we have to go back.
Exactly.
Wrong
I
show,
cannot
but you
wait.
know.
yes. It's on my list now. I mean, Hobbiton, I got to go to New Zealand.
Oh, I'm doing that.
Oh, you are?
It's on my bucket list for next December. I'm going to go with my son after his first semester in college.
Awesome.
That has been the trip we have planned for forever.
That's a different podcast. We'll just have you on when we start talking Lord of the Rings.
When
So
the Rings of Power come back, we'll do another rewatch.
Yeah, perfect. So what we thought we'd do, since we have you and your knowledge of Ted Lasso, is just sort of fire off some questions that this episode brought to mind. And the key question throughout this episode, and we're dying to hear what you think, is Ted a mess?
Well, I think we established that what was his line from the show? He's a work in progress, right? But the big week, I think, is so this episode was assigned to me. I was basically based on scheduling. I was just like, give me an episode. As long as you don't give me Beard's Crazy Night episode, I was like, totally fine with it. I'm glad someone else was really excited to have that one, though. Upon rewatch, I didn't really try to think too thematically when I did the first watch of the series. We're getting into the episodes and really diving deep. I didn't realize how much meaning there actually was in this episode, right? The big week idea applies to pretty much every character throughout this episode. Like every character seems to be at some defining moment, right? There's like Ted dealing with the sassy comment and what are the repercussions of that. And that clearly affects his coaching in that West Ham game. Rebecca is kind of all over the place. I think we thought she kind of maybe had a little inner peace, but you could see this is very triggering and resurfacing for her with Rupert
Forcing
and
it with
everything.
have fun. Oh, she's falling apart.
Nate should be in a good place, but he's clearly in a bad place, like going into this match. And the elevator scene is one of my all-time favorites. And I didn't realize it was in this episode. So when I was doing the rewatch, I was actually kind of excited to talk about that because having seen it and knowing what's coming, I'll try to see if I could see him in the back of the elevator. And then when everyone moves, they position Ted perfectly. So he's just like right there facing the back of the elevator.
Yeah.
I have to ask about Nate. Hold on. Why is he facing the corner? Literally.
That just shows how scared he is of this having to confront Ted. And I don't want to dive into the rest of the series. I will say that for me, the Nate storyline was the one that didn't really pay off the way I'd kind of hoped it. I felt like they just tied it up neatly in a bow without like really dealing with some of the stuff he did. It just kind of went away so quickly. I never felt like that really got its proper conclusion. But then you have Roy and Keeley, who are my favorites. Roy is finally trying to step into the being a mentor, being a coach. I definitely relate to his journey. This is him waking Jamie up at 4 a.m. To go running. And then you have Keeley, who is in this weird place, particularly at the moment where she has to confront, her friend about making that change to the website in front of Jack. And it's like, okay, she has to be a leader now. This can't just, there are repercussions when someone does something like that. Right. So everyone is having a big week of their own.
It's a great way to tie it all up. I agree. You reminded me when they were teasing season 3, they gave us one photo. It seemed like that was the only thing they gave us for the longest time. And it was the shot through the elevator with Ted facing Nate facing Ted, and Rupert in the background. And it was not apparent that it was an elevator. So that when we finally got to this scene, oh my gosh, all this time that was through an elevator. But you're right. It's the key moment in some ways of the season when these two have to square up. And everybody keeps reminding Ted he should be mad at Nate. Why aren't you mad at Nate? Of course you're a mess because you haven't really acknowledged that you're angry at someone.
I
And
thought that was actually a big part of the mess situation. I think they positioned it as him and his wife and Dr. Jacob,
yeah,
but I think the cue for us as the audience is the fact that he can't just be like, "No, I'm pissed at Nate." Like what he did was really messed up, and
right.
you can tell he's very hurt by the
Yeah,
situation. You could see it. Jason Sudeikis is so great, right? Because even though he could stick with the persona of Ted Lasso, he's able to convey this pain around this person who he really cared deeply about, and he doesn't really understand what happened, like why it just kind
yeah,
of melted as fast as it did, and
yeah.
what triggered Nate in the first place.
And not to jump ahead, but
Sure.
by the end of this episode, with his conversation with Michelle, they get off the call. We as the audience stay with Michelle, and she has almost a smile on her face.
I'm so glad you brought this up.
Yeah,
Okay, keep
and
going.
I think what it is during their therapy, the conversation must have been about Ted. You've got to be able to deal with anger. You've got to be able to deal with these difficult emotions. And you're such a positive guy, you just push it away. You never think about it. You never talk about it. You never voice it. And we see it now as an audience with his relationship with Nate. But the key moment and his willingness to talk about something that ticked him off, to use his words, is growth for him. And I think that's why she has a little bit of a smile, because he's growing and doing what she's always wanted him to do, is to be tell him when he's upset at her, tell him when he's not happy, because he clearly wasn't. He clearly doesn't.
On rewatch, I thought it was super odd that that we end the episode with her smiling after he is just like totally ripped into her. But I also think that answers a question that, again, spoiler alert if you haven't watched through season 3, if you're like going along with this, at the end, there's still the question of after Ted goes home, is he with her or not? And I
Mhm.
think that, and her not being with Dr. Jacob, obviously, indicated to me that they probably, and we'll find out in season 4, but that there was a reconciliation because I think
You
she's
think
realizing,
so?
because I think at least a reconciliation where they're in a good place.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But possibly a reconciliation of maybe he's shown growth and they're back together. It wouldn't surprise me either way, but I just thought, oh, that's something I missed. It was a throwaway last time, but upon rewatch, I was like, oh, so
Well, and
interesting that she's smiling after like he totally lit into her. She doesn't say sorry. She doesn't really say anything. She's just like, okay,
right, I'll
yeah,
take
you're
it.
right. I wasn't.
She's owning it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
And in the season 4 trailers, we see her. So did she go to London too? I have questions.
They
I
will be
think
answered.
I think we see her only in Kansas. She's in bleachers, and I think they're cheering on Henry's game. So I'm not sure.
Oh,
Okay, next question. We find out that Ted's Uber rating is, of course, a 5. Because he's a lovely human. And he said, I offer to drive if they look tired. So, of course, his Uber rating is a 5. But Jesse and Delane, what are your Uber ratings? Or Lyft? It's fine, or whatever works best for you.
I'm Lyft. I have a 5.
All
that
right.
doesn't surprise me actually.
You're delightful.
I'm terrified of not getting a 5. I think I'm like Ted. Do everything you can, make pleasant conversation, don't slam the doors, put on your seatbelt, because I'm worried somebody will not pick me up when I need a ride.
And Jesse?
I'm a 4.9, but I'm really irate about the. Here's the thing: for a while, I was a 4.82. I wasn't paying attention, and then I really put in the work. Like I'm super effusively, like Ted Lasso level, nice to everybody, just to try. Like I will engage in conversation even when I don't want to, just to try. And I get out of the car
100%.
and I'm like, just so you know, stars and tip will happen right after I get through security. I want them to know, like I'm not.
I'm not going to ignore it.
I didn't. I'm not going to forget about you. I promise. Like it's coming.
That's
Right.
nice. That's a nice
And I
gesture.
think I probably tipped 25%. It's full Black Mirror. Again, a different podcast entirely, but that episode where we're so focused on the social media.
With Bryce Dallas Howard. Yeah, that's it.
Exactly.
That's a great episode.
Reciprocal.
Hmm.
Interesting. Okay. I can give you both. I'm a 4.91
Oh,
Uber. I
I'm the
didn't
lowest
know.
one here.
Yeah, I didn't know they went to, 100ths, but I must have upset somebody somewhere or canceled one time in Uber, and a 5 on Lyft. And I do use Lyft more than Uber. It's not a competition. Okay. Next question. Nate, we see Nate at the beginning of the episode pre-gaming in his house with this lovely model, and he's anxious about seeing Ted again. We know it brilliantly in sort of a show don't tell moment where he knocks Ted accidentally off of this model and laughs, chuckles at himself, but then has to pick him up. cannot leave him on the floor. Then we see he actually talked to Mr. Mannion or Rupert, depending on what part of the episode we're in. And he says he's anxious about when he's going to run into Ted again and what he's supposed to say. So the question here is, does Mr. Mannion actually believe in Nate, or is he just a pawn to hurt Rebecca?
I don't know that he has any level of confidence in Nate. He is trying to convert him to the dark side, of course, but Nate is not following the program at the rate that Mr. Mannion wants it to happen. I do believe that it's all an effort to hurt Rebecca, and we hope Nate sees through it, of course. I don't know that he believes in Nate.
Everything Rupert does is in service of Rupert. And to your dark side point, he's always in the dark suits. He has Nate in the dark suits. They make it very clear visually that that's like kind of what they're going for. But that correction from Rupert to Mr. Mannion tells you everything you need to know. It's like, you are nothing to me. You are an employee. Like, I'm not interested in your feelings. I'm not interested in who you are other than what you can do to serve my end goals.
Mhm.
And I think that also the other place where they really highlight that is when Rebecca catches him with the assistant and is basically like, cut it out. Like,
Yeah,
you know, your wife and your daughter deserve better. And
yeah,
weirdly, I think that happening, you could see almost a shift in Rebecca where she's like, oh, why am I letting this bother me? This guy is like, he's just who he is. It wasn't even necessarily a to me thing, it's to everybody. He does not care about anybody. And I think that almost puts that whole thing to bed.
yeah.
Right? Her demeanor and shifted entirely when she
Yeah,
got to take her own power back by telling him to knock it off.
exactly.
I'm
She,
not losing to you. You are a terrible human being.
yeah. She's doing it in service of Bex now. So doing it in service of someone else. And of course, Diane, baby Diane. And so I think that's what makes her feel better. Ted even says, look, you've already won. You got that turkey out of your life, which is a great quote from this episode. Oh, and the final little point on that is only when he wins does he say to Nate, oh, please call me Rupert at Bones and Honey. So we see that reversal. Early in the episode, you got to call me Mr. Mannion. He's an employee, as you said, Jesse. All right, fantastic. Next question. Roy and Beard are overthinking strategy. They feel the absence of Nate's super brain, as they call it, and Trent thinks of pulling the security footage showing Nate ripping up the believe sign. Did you think Ted talked to Beard and Roy and they had a discussion about, gosh, should we play this? Should we not play it? And if so, what was the outcome? Because they decided to play it at halftime. What do you think?
I thought it was pretty clear. You could tell Ted was like, this is off limits. I don't want them seeing it. What I loved about this episode was they play games with the traditional structure of sports movies and stuff because, you know, they see it, they're all amped up, they're down at the half, and it's like they're coming out angry, and we're like, oh, they're gonna now they're focused and they have a common enemy and they're gonna win. And it just does it turns into a WWE match. It's like it's basically the exact opposite of what you think is gonna happen, right? So what should happen? Or actually, let me correct that what traditionally would happen, but what does happen is actually what should happen, which is total loss of regulation, total loss of
Mhm.
emotional control. And weirdly enough, that resonated for me as an educator. I was like, I feel like teachers go through this all the time, where it's like, now we're worked up and it's going to help us. And it's like, no, that just is going to lead down a bad road that we should not travel.
Right? They haven't had the appropriate training to understand that it takes 20 minutes for your nervous system to regulate after a really hyped up situation.
Not to tie this to real sports at all, but watching that episode reminded me because I'm a Knicks fan and I'm in New York, and obviously we're coming off like the greatest season in like forever as a Knicks fan. I think the Knicks team is kind of like Richmond without Zava, right? This is the big problem that comes out. It's already leading into this episode, but like you can't have one person above a team.
No, not at all.
So they
Uh,
really didn't have a chance anyway. And you get that during the strategy session where they're like, oh, we got it. We'll do the name reverse nine. And they're like, will Zava do it? He's like, he throws the board. It's like, if you have
I
a,
thought that was a Friends reference. Follow me on this one. Beard says, we got to stop thinking like Nate and start thinking like Nate would think we would think if Nate were thinking like us, and then do the last thing that Nate thinking like us, thinking like Nate, thinking like us would ever expect us to do. And immediately my brain went to Phoebe. They don't know that we know they know.
yes, that's right. Oh, that's
It
funny.
all leads back to Friends.
It really does. I'm sorry. 90s references. What?
Yeah, I agree with both the points you guys have made, and I think if they showed the video at all, it should have been the night before. It should have been sometime before, just like Iron Giant, right? That wasn't right before the game. They didn't want him coming out crying. They showed that to them
Right.
the night before and had tissue ready at the 74-minute mark. I think this, and again, like Ted, I don't really think this is the way I want to motivate my team. I want them to be motivated by the positive focus. And so, Jason,
Right.
Jesse,
Ted would never
yeah,
motivate using
no,
using something
Anger
that
and
would
hate.
anger
Yeah.
them or hate. He doesn't want them driven by that.
that is not the way of the Jedi. So there is a Star Wars reference.
Oh, we
Oh,
did it.
there it is.
We found the link. This
Be
is,
one with the force. Yeah.
Return of the Jedi. This is the third season, so it's the third movie. Okay, next question. Shandy is given the opportunity to work on banter. This is the big client for KJPR, and Keeley gives her the opportunity to work directly on banter. She records interviews. She does seem to do a good job directing those interviews, and they're still anonymized, the faces of the players. But she then, in the upload, changes the banter slogan to "Want to bang a celebrity?" which is
Oh
kind of the
no.
opposite of what banter is all about. It's meant to be anonymous, but there's no pictures, there's no visuals, and it gets it trending. It goes crazy. And Keeley asked her to change it back. What do you think Shandy did to earn the control over the banter account, the primary account of this fledgling PR firm?
I think it's a product of who Keeley is. We're now at season 3. We're starting to see the final peaks and valleys a little bit as people have been on this growth curve since season 1, right? How far Jamie's come, how far Roy's come, how far all these people who have been in Ted's orbit have grown as people over the course of the series. And I think here's a Keeley moment, right? Where think back to who we see the first few episodes, and she is just like, you would not even think she'd be at this point. Her big week is really about her trying to prove herself as a business leader. And she still doesn't even have the full confidence of doing what she probably needs to be able to do. I think we see it in that moment when she's like, I know I need to take her to task. The thing that caught me about that moment was she tells her to do it, but then says, please. Like
Hmm.
she says, please at the end of it, as if she's asking her for a favor. And it's like, she's the boss. It's her company, but she's in front of Jack and she's scared because Shandy's her friend and she's not at that point where she can mix business and friendship in a way that she can like directly just let her have it. But
Yeah.
she kind of has to, right?
Right. It was a horrifying change. Shandy, you did what?
Oh,
Yeah.
And I thought that's what got me wondering, why would Keeley place so much trust into somebody that she hasn't been in contact with for years? I don't know that Shandy has proven that she's capable of taking the one account that got Keeley funding. Banter was the reason why the VC firm backed her. Why would you hand that account off to somebody that's unproven? And so that level of trust, I don't know, did she misplace trust or was she trying to establish trust?
I think it's an interesting misfire, and it leads back to Rebecca's recommendation to hire your best friend. And I think Keeley took that to heart and is running with it and doesn't realize when she or how she can counter or shift gears. It's just she's hiring her best friend. She's trying to do, and she would trust Rebecca to lead in the banter conversation if it was a banter account. But Shandy and Rebecca are two very different individuals with very different skill sets and leadership capabilities. So I think this is a learning opportunity for Keeley. I'm just very sad for her that it happened in front of Jack, in front of the
Right.
funding people, right after a disastrous second half for her other account.
oh, I thought you were going to say a disastrous meeting in the bathroom because
Oh,
that also was not the best.
I mean, and I don't know.
And
I have a
Jack
different take
slips
on
in.
that.
Jack
I
slips
thought it
in
was endearing.
the. I think you have something in mind, and it was like,
Yeah. Whew.
Now, I want to know how Jack knew that was Keeley. Did Jack look at the
shoes.
shoes?
She had to, and there was a reason they show the shot of the shoes intentionally because then she says "nice shoes," which forces her to look down, and they're both like, "Oh, this
Well,
is
I'm going to give you a theory. This is a Delane thought.
sure."
Jack is the owner of the VC firm. Keeley is very public. Does Jack have a crush on Keeley and therefore funds Keeley in order to meet her? So Jack knows Keeley's voice in the bathroom, not the shoes. Jack knows who Keeley is.
She
Right.
has a distinctive voice. It's that Manchester accent.
Oh, 100%. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
that's
So that is my theory that Jack is a bit of a stalker, and that's why Keeley got funded.
Well,
Oh,
and later
interesting.
episodes would back your theory.
Yeah, I was about to say that if you follow that out, it does hold water.
Little tinfoil hat for me.
Okay, I have a bonus question. We didn't plan this one out.
Ooh.
Who do you think would portray Trent Krim in any movie made? Because we hear that it should be a young
He's,
Robert Redford, and
but then
he
he says
corrects.
Dustin Hoffman.
He says no, probably more likely Dustin Hoffman. Is there a better one out there? I mean, clearly they need to have a solid head of hair.
I actually thought when he said Dustin Hoffman, I was like, oh, that's a good one because they have the same very like
Yes.
angular facial features, right? And we've seen Dustin Hoffman with that same, like I feel like younger Dustin Hoffman and like Tootsie and Kramer versus Kramer had that
Yeah.
hair
Yeah.
kind of flowing in the back like Trent
Well,
Cribb.
and the movie he's referencing, All the President's Men, he does have long hair in that movie, in
Right, right,
contrast
right.
to Robert Redford, who's wearing it short.
Right. I'm gonna go with Timothy Chalamet because he can do anything.
Yes, that's true.
I'm gonna just go chalk it. I like when he said the Dustin Hoffman thing. I was like, oh yeah. So I'm okay to stick with that.
Fabulous. So, Delane, was there anything around book club in this episode?
We saw Beard reading The Beckham Experiment, how the world's most famous athlete tried to conquer America. That was written by a Sports Illustrated writer, Grant Wall, and it focuses on Beckham's first 2 years at LA Galaxy. I love how they keep dropping hints about journalists writing about soccer teams. This is the second book where they've done that.
So, is Beard a little concerned about what Trent might write?
Potentially.
I like watching the season through the lens of like knowing he's there. Sometimes they do very weird things that they're like, you're not going to write about that, right? But he's there. I mean, Trent Krim, I love the fact that they were able to work him in because I think we all loved him in the first couple seasons and wanted more. So this was a great way to get him into the story. But like, they're not being very smart about acting
Inclusion.
in a responsible way with a journalist around. Are they paying attention to the fact that he's here? Because they're saying and doing things that I don't know if they're going to want captured for later, right? Interesting.
Really makes me want to read The Richmond Way. I want it to be a real book, and that way we could find the answer, Jesse. Like, did
I'm
he
shocked that
include?
they didn't release it because, like, what
Yeah,
an easy sell, right?
easy.
And
Just a
speaking of easy sells, because we talked about this before we went on the air, but Mike informed me that the ice cream is back, the Jetty's ice cream, the biscuits with the Boss flavor. So I don't know if you guys already talked about that in another episode, but
We have
apparently
not.
you could order it on the site. So I know what I'm going to be doing as soon as I hang up on the from this call. We'll be getting some because last time I actually went hunting around New York City to try to find it. And I went to some bodega on 10th Avenue where it was the last place they said they had it and it was gone.
Oh
You got to
no.
order online, and then just pro
Yeah, but you have
tip.
to order a minimum of 5 pints. So be
Yeah,
hungry.
yeah. So order 100. That was going to be my pro tip: is make sure you got 5 in mind. So I ordered 3 biscuits with the Boss, and then my favorite flavor and my wife's favorite flavor, so that I can keep piecing
What
it
are
out.
what are those flavors for the
Dark
listening
chocolate,
audience?
darkest chocolate is mine,
Okay.
and then there's some sort of mint chip flavor that my wife loves, and
Oh,
so I
interesting.
grabbed that one. Go grab it now at Jenny's. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you tomorrow for our reaction to season 3, episode 5, Signs. And Jesse, do you want to take the honor of giving us the outro quote?
Shake it off, folks. Lots of football left this season.